Welcome back to God's Business Playbook, and I'm your host, Kirby Ingles. And today we're going to dive into an episode that hits the core of both business and leadership, aligning your work with God's purpose for lasting success. And if you've ever found yourself chasing goals that seem to fall short or pursuing projects that don't give you much fulfillment as you expected, then this episode is for you. Today, I'd love to explore how your ambition, no matter how big, can limit you if disconnected from God's will. But when your work is aligned with His purpose, you can build something that not only lasts, but also honors Him and brings true, enduring success. So let's kick things off by looking at one of the most famous stories from the Bible, the Tower of Babel. I know what you're thinking. How does this ancient story apply to modern business? Well, stick with me because the lessons here are powerful. In Genesis 11, we see the people of Babel coming together with a clear ambition. Their goal is to build a city with a tower that reaches the heavens and to make a name for themselves. Does that sound familiar? And in business, we often get caught up in the same pursuit, building something big and impressive that will make a mark. But the question is, who are we building? Is it for ourselves or is it for something greater? For God's kingdom? The people of Babel were united in their efforts, and they were ambitious. And on the surface, it looked like they had everything going for them. Teamwork, a grand vision, the drive to achieve, but their ambition was disconnected from God's purpose. They weren't building that tower to glorify God. They were building that tower to glorify themselves. And that's where their efforts fell apart. God saw what they were doing and confused their language, which caused them to scatter and abandon the project. This is where the lesson for us today comes in. Work rooted in personal ambition and pride will always have its limits. And when we build for our glory, well, we'll eventually hit a wall, and our success will be temporary. It'll be feeble, fleeting. The people of Babel's story is a stark reminder of the consequences of ambition that is disconnected from God's purpose. So what does this mean for us in business? Well, whether you're leading a company, building a startup, or managing a team, your success isn't just about how hard you work or how big your goals are. True, lasting success comes from aligning your work with God's purpose. And when your ambition is rooted in service to His plan, your work becomes more than just a project. It becomes a mission. Let's be honest for a moment. We've all been in situations where we set goals, worked hard, and accomplished something, only to feel like something was missing. It's that feeling of, is this it? Is this all there is? That's when you realize that what you're building isn't connected to the bigger picture, God's picture. So how do we move beyond ambition and align our work with God's purpose? Well, here are a few practical ways to ensure that what you're building isn't just significant, but meaningful, purposeful, and aligned with what God wants for you. Number one, start with prayer and reflection. Before setting business goals or even launching a new project, seek God's guidance. Ask Him, if this is what he wants you to pursue. We often make decisions based on what we think will bring success. But we need to first ask if that's what God wants us to build. And sometimes prayer is being quiet and listening. Stop talking. Listen. Number 2, check your motivation. It's a tough one. But you've got to ask yourself, why am I pursuing this thing? Is it to make a name for myself, or is it to glorify God? There's nothing wrong with wanting to grow a successful business. Still, when success becomes more about elevating ourselves than serving others and fulfilling God's purpose, it's time for course correction. Now, number 3, surrender control. Now, this might be even the hardest step for leaders and business owners, but we're used to taking charge. We're used to setting strategies and executing plans. But aligning our work with God's purpose means that sometimes we have to surrender control and trust Him with the outcome. When we try to control everything, we operate from a place of pride, thinking that everything depends on us. But when we surrender our plans to Him, we acknowledge He's the trustworthy source of our success. And the last one, number 4, focus on service. Ultimately, your business should be about serving others. God calls us to love and serve, which applies to business just as much as any other area of life, like a nonprofit or a ministry. Business is your ministry. And when you focus on serving your clients, your team, your community, your customers, your partners, you align your work with God's purpose. Your business becomes more than just a means to make money. It becomes a platform for significant impact in God's kingdom. Now, aligning your work with God's purpose doesn't mean that you won't face challenges. And it doesn't mean success will come overnight either. In fact, sometimes it may feel like you're moving slower because you're taking the time to reflect, pray, and seek God's direction. But here's the thing. The success that you achieve when you align with God's will is far more meaningful and lasting than anything you could achieve on your own. When you build your business in line with God's purpose, you create something with eternal value. You're no longer chasing success for success' sake. You're building something that serves God's kingdom and blesses others. In the end, that's the kind of work that not only lasts, but also brings a deep sense of purpose and fulfillment. So as you go about your work this week, take a moment to ask yourself, am I building something for myself? Or am I building something for God's kingdom? Is my ambition aligned with God's purpose? Or am I chasing something that will ultimately leave me empty feeling? And when you take the time to align your ambition with God's will, you'll find that your work has meaning, purpose, and a lasting impact. And that goes beyond the walls of business. Thanks for joining me on this episode of God's Business Playbook. If today's message resonates with you, I'd encourage you to reflect on aligning your work more closely with God's purpose. And remember to subscribe, share this podcast on integrating faith and business with other people. We'd love to reach more and bring them into our tribe. Together, we'll discover how to lead with integrity, purpose, and a heart that serves God's kingdom. And until next time, remember that true success isn't just about building big. It's about creating what matters. My name's Kirby Ingles, and I'll see you next time.